Isbella, a young and stunning billionaire, was driving her sleek black convertible along a quiet highway in the outskirts of New York. The late afternoon sun reflected off the glass buildings in the distance, casting a golden glow across the road. She wore a simple white shirt tucked neatly into her blue jeans, her long brown hair flowing behind her as she drove. The city had always been hectic, and she cherished these rare moments of solitude, enjoying the hum of the engine and the wind against her face, unaware that danger was about to strike in the most unexpected way. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a black SUV sped in front of her car, forcing her to slam on the brakes. Her heart raced as she realized something was terribly wrong. Masked figures leaped out, surrounding her vehicle, their weapons glinting menacingly in the sunlight. The first gunshot shattered the quiet afternoon, sending her into a panic. She tried to start her car again, but the robbers were relentless. The sound of boots pounding against asphalt and the metallic click of guns created a terrifying symphony of danger that she could not escape. Before she could react, one of the robbers fired, and a bullet grazed the side of her head. Blood trickled down her temple, burning her skin and blurring her vision. She gasped, her fingers trembling on the steering wheel as dizziness overcame her. Her mind struggled to process the attack, her breathing quick and shallow. She knew she needed help, but the street was empty, and the robbers showed no mercy. Fear took over, and her body betrayed her, succumbing to unconsciousness, leaving her defenseless against the threats surrounding her. At that exact moment, David, a single dad, was driving home from work. His blue jeans and white shirt were slightly wrinkled from the long day, but his eyes were sharp and alert. He had just dropped his kids off at their grandmother, his house, and was on his usual route when the scene unfolded before him. He saw Isbella's car swerving and the masked men closing in. Without a second thought, he slammed his brakes, leapt from his car, and ran toward the chaos, instinctively knowing that someone's life hung in the balance. David didn't hesitate. He lunged at the nearest attacker, grabbing the gun and twisting it away. The robber cursed and swung at him, but David was quick, ducking and countering with precise, powerful strikes. He fought with the determination of a man protecting his own, fueled by instinct and courage. Every punch, every kick was calculated to keep the attackers at bay. The sounds of the struggle, grunts, shouts, and the occasional metallic clatter filled the air. But David focused solely on ensuring Isbella's safety, ignoring the fear gnawing at his mind. Once he had incapacitated the robbers, David rushed to the convertible. Isbella was slumped over the wheel, blood staining her temple and soaking into her white shirt. Her breathing was faint, and she showed no signs of movement. Panic surged through him for a brief moment, but he quickly pushed it aside, knowing hesitation could cost her life. He carefully unbuckled her seatbelt and lifted her into his arms. She was surprisingly light, and though he was strong, the weight of her unconscious body made his arms ache, but he refused to drop her. David carried her to his car and gently placed her in the passenger seat. He drove as fast and safely as he could, checking in the rearview mirror to ensure the attackers were gone. His mind raced, thinking about first aid, hospital visits, and how he would keep her stable until professional help arrived. Every stoplight felt like an eternity, every turn a risk. He applied a makeshift cloth to her wound, pressing gently to slow the bleeding. His hands were steady, his focus unwavering, a calm determination masking the fear he felt inside. Once he arrived home, David carefully carried Isbella inside. His small house felt suddenly immense as he placed her on the couch and began tending to her injuries. He cleaned the wound, wrapped it with whatever supplies he had, and monitored her breathing, making sure she was stable. Every few minutes, he spoke softly to her, reassuring her, hoping she could hear him. Though she remained unconscious, he refused to give up, watching over her with the protective instincts of a father, even though she was a stranger to him. Hours passed slowly, each tick of the clock amplifying the tension in the room. David prepared simple water and a blanket, making her comfortable and checking her pulse repeatedly. He thought about the randomness of life, how fate had brought this wealthy stranger into his modest home, injured and vulnerable. His mind wandered to what her life must have been like, the wealth and luxury, yet now none of that mattered. Here in his home, she was just a person in need, and he was the one who could save her. By late evening, the initial danger had passed, but David stayed alert, unwilling to leave her side. The adrenaline had faded, leaving him exhausted but resolute. He understood that even though she was unconscious, she was alive because of his actions. The quiet of the house was broken only by the soft sounds of Isbella's labored breathing. David sat nearby, vigilant and calm, waiting for her to wake. Knowing that this was just the beginning of a story neither of them could have imagined. Days passed in David's modest home, the quiet interrupted only by the soft hum of the heater and the occasional clink of dishes as he moved about. Isbella remained unconscious for the first several hours, her injuries carefully tended to. David made sure she had water, bandages, and clean sheets, maintaining a careful watch over her. Though she was a stranger, he treated her as if she were family, moving with gentle precision to ensure she felt no additional pain. The tension of the attack still lingered in the air, but here she was safe, shielded by his courage and care. When Isbella finally stirred, her eyes fluttered open, revealing a mix of confusion, fear, and gratitude. David, seated nearby, looked up with a reassuring smile, his blue jeans and white shirt slightly rumpled from hours of vigilance. She tried to sit up, but the ache in her head and body forced her back onto the couch. David immediately supported her, speaking softly, guiding her movements, making sure she didn't strain herself. She whispered a weak "thank you," her voice trembling, and he shook his head gently, insisting that the ordeal was over and that she was safe now. The days that followed were filled with quiet moments of care and simple conversations. Isbella gradually regained her strength, though her pride made her hesitant to accept help. David, patient and understanding, encouraged her gently, offering food, blankets, and conversation without expecting anything in return. He asked about her family, her work, and her life, never revealing his own hardships in detail, but sharing just enough to make her feel comfortable. In this safe space, Isbella began to trust him, feeling a warmth she hadn't experienced amidst the cold, luxurious world she usually inhabited. As she recovered, Isbella's curiosity about David grew. She noticed the gentle strength in his movements, the quiet confidence in the way he handled situations, and the love that radiated from him when he spoke about his children. She realized that while wealth had surrounded her, it hadn't given her a glimpse of a life grounded in genuine kindness and courage. David, in turn, observed her resilience and grace despite the attack. He never pressed her for details about her wealth or status, and in doing so, he unknowingly revealed the type of man who valued people over possessions. One afternoon, after a week of rest, Isbella told David she felt strong enough to leave. He insisted on accompanying her to ensure she reached safety, helping her into a cab and ensuring she had a plan for the night. She thanked him again, her voice sincere, and he simply nodded, his heart quietly proud that she was recovering. As the cab drove away, David watched the car disappear into the city streets, unaware that this was far from the end of their story. Their connection, forged in crisis and compassion, lingered silently in both their minds. Weeks later, David received a curious invitation in the mail, an embossed card that made him pause. It was an invitation to an exclusive gala in Manhattan, a world far removed from his own daily life. Though hesitant, he decided to attend, partly out of curiosity and partly because he had a strange sense that it might be important. He dressed carefully, donning a crisp white shirt and dark jeans, making sure he looked presentable without compromising the authenticity that had defined him for years. He didn't yet realize the twist fate had in store. Arriving at the gala, David felt like an outsider amid the glittering crowd of wealthy elites, their diamonds and gowns glinting under the chandelier lights. He navigated the grand hall quietly, admiring the architecture and decorations while feeling slightly out of place. Suddenly, a familiar voice called his name. Turning, he saw her, Isbella, radiant and composed in a tailored evening gown, her long hair elegantly styled. His heart skipped a beat. The woman he had saved from certain danger was here, in the world he had only glimpsed from afar, standing before him with a grace and poise that stunned him. Isbella approached with a warm smile, her eyes reflecting gratitude and amusement. She confessed that she hadn't revealed her true identity when she was injured because she wanted to see the man who saved her for who he truly was, without influence of wealth or status. David listened, stunned but deeply moved. realizing that their first meeting, born out of fear and danger, had led to this extraordinary revelation. She laughed softly, recalling moments from the day of the attack, and he felt a mixture of awe and relief that she was safe and unafraid. The gala became a backdrop for an unexpected bond. Isbella introduced David to friends and colleagues, but her attention remained on him, a subtle acknowledgement of the trust and connection they had built. He realized that despite the world she inhabited, she valued his courage, integrity, and kindness above everything else. Conversations flowed easily between them, their laughter punctuating the elegance of the evening. In that moment, David understood that life had a strange way of weaving paths together, creating moments that could change destinies in ways neither person could have anticipated. By the end of the night, Isbella invited David to walk with her along the balcony, overlooking the glittering Manhattan skyline. The city lights reflected the improbable journey they had shared, from an afternoon of violence and fear to this night of elegance and revelation. They talked quietly, sharing dreams, fears, and hopes for the future. David felt a mixture of disbelief and wonder, realizing that the woman he saved wasn't just a stranger or a billionaire. She was someone who had chosen to trust him, and in doing so, had created a bond neither wealth nor circumstance could define. As the evening drew to a close, they parted with a promise to meet again, their connection stronger than ever. David returned home, his mind replaying every moment of the past weeks, the rescue, the recovery, and the stunning revelation at the gala. He realized that courage and kindness had brought them together, creating a story that neither would forget. Meanwhile, Isbella returned to her world of business and luxury, but with a newfound appreciation for the man who had saved her life and the simple, profound humanity he represented.